Okay, this one's to answer some questions from Bobby Shafto. Um, he's asking me to establish where level is. An interesting point about this observation, which we might as well go there first, I guess, is if we take a look at some of these locations. We have Bobby's location. The TB boy is at 2.76 miles, so 2 3/4 miles from Bobby's location. Let's close that out. The distance shoreline is just over 12 miles, 12.07. And the capture of the was it the Morning Star, the ship we're talking about, tote, vessel was at 9 feet. Well, we've got some pretty close proportions here. We've got roughly 3 miles, just under 3 miles. We've got the vessel at somewhere around 9 miles and a shoreline at 12 miles. Very close. So we're on close proportions of increments of 3 miles. The distance between the buoy, TB, and the vessel would be twice the distance compared to Bobby to the buoy or from the ship to the shoreline. This will be important. So from scaling the vessel at 3 miles, which both the cross passing of the tote and buoy TB were about the same. Again, it's a little bit short, so these are not going to be exact. Okay, but they're fairly close to convey the point I'm going to make right now. If we know that Bobby is at 16.5 foot elevation above the water, then what we would have to establish is where 16.5 feet is from the water line to the tote logo, or the E. And it seems to be pretty close to the center between the bottom leg of the E and the middle leg of the E, horizontals. So what I've done at this point is I've established a height for the buoys. Since they're both the same, let's do a linear dimension real quick here. Add again 16.6 feet. And again, this is going to be slightly off, but you know, let's go with it. We have the vessel in the background, which is not into scale, but we know 16.5 feet would be close to the middle between the legs. So we're going to draw this red line in, and we're going to say that the red line is 16.5 feet at 9 miles. The yellow line is 16.5 feet at 3 miles. And again, this is at 2.7, so this is slightly off. And the distant shoreline, which I'm calling somewhere right about here, actually it's a bit lower, but the way I did this was to draw a line in between the 9 mile and the 3 mile, indicating a full distance, and then drawing a circle that would have gone from the midpoint through the intersection to break this down into, you know, quarter, 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 or quarter, half, quarter, as far as proportions. And from this point, we could say, some people could interpret perspective from that point, but let's just draw a line of perspective. From this line here, which is additional quarter, which is pretty close to where Bobby's at, and the other intersection, which again is close to where we're calling the shoreline. So to reconstruct an explanation from flat based on perspective of objects that we really know are not in the exact position in order to correctly do this. I mean, I would really have to know the exact location of where the E is in the channel at the time of this very second to refine this any further. I mean, I know this is at 2.7 miles, so I could realistically adjust this a bit better. You know, we know the distance shoreline is 12.1, so that would be a little bit longer. This line should come down a touch more because it's covering 1/10 of a mile and more distance. But is someone really going to argue the point that if this is where Bobby's eye line is, where he's at, it's not very far off of the proportions for a perspective line to put everything where it needs to be based on perspective? I'm not calling out any refraction here. I could say, yeah, refraction adjusts things a little bit here and there. I'm saying distance can do the same thing. But if you want to know, Bobby, where eye level should be based on a flat earth and perspective, this is where eye level is. You know, damn near at the horizon, just as everyone claims it to be. You know, the horizon is going to run out into the distance. But at each location above the water, they're following a line of perspective. And I think that's something you really got to think hard about, because your analysis at this point really continues to be based on an orthographic interpretation when your camera and the eye sees perspective. I understand where you're coming from. I'm understanding your thought process. But when other things like this wave, which should be obstructed by a bulge height of water which doesn't appear to be there, you know, this is why my thought process says, okay, I can lean towards a different path than you are. So you asked me to reconstruct this in terms of a flat earth analysis, and that's what I'm giving you.